We will now hear from Catalina Morales Bahena, who works with Faith in Action, which is a network of faith-based organizations committed to social justice. Catalina is the Lared Formation and Coaching Manager there, and she is also pursuing studies in theology and English at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Catalina, and I have been here in this country 26 years, and I currently reside in this country as a DACA recipient. I have spent the last decade of my life working to bring justice to immigrant communities and communities impacted by our incarceration system. I'm also what people call a cradle Catholic and what I call a Mexican Roman Catholic. I attend St. Thomas University, and I'm studying theology and English. I bring all of these parts of my identity into this meeting today, and I hope that with my story, I can bring more hope to pursuing an opportunity for women to become deacons in the Catholic Church. When I was 12 years old, my mom and I self-deported to Mexico, not because immigration made us, but because life as a single mom without documents was almost impossible for her. When we arrived in Mexico City, we tried to make it our home. Unfortunately, after a decade away and my mom hitting her late 30s, it was not friendly to us. I began walking to Mass every Sunday alone. I had to stay after for catechism. La Señora Cela was my catechist, and she noticed a few things. One was how I would come to Mass alone, not because I was forced to, but because I wanted to. She asked me once why my parents didn't come with me. I explained that after my mom divorced my dad because we lived in an abusive household, she was told communion wasn't for people like her anymore. This made my mother leave the church. From then, she asked if I wanted to sit next to her during Mass. I was relieved since I felt like a weirdo sitting alone each Sunday. She spent every Sunday explaining what each section of the Mass meant, why we prayed each prayer, why the priest said certain things, and why we did certain things. She loved the church. She loved being a catechist, and she saved me from a really tough time in my life. I'm studying theology today because of my paternal grandmother, Carmen, whom I would call a deacon because of how she led through her faith. I decided to come into the work of social justice at church during Mass because she taught me to always sign up to do a good thing for others. Along with my abuela Carmen and my mother, that always taught me to keep seeking God in my life, even when the church didn't receive her unconditionally. I know I wouldn't be studying theology today. I wouldn't be working on social justice issues, developing organizers out of social justice teachings from the Catholic Church. The truth is, I was raised in an environment where almost all the men were abusive to the women around me. I, in turn, avoided them and looked for mentorship and understanding from the women in church. I believe my grandmother Carmen and my catechist Acela would have been deacons, and if they were, I would have considered following in their footsteps because of how much they lived their faith through actions and not only words, and because I have tried to be like them all my life. Maybe one day it would be an option for me to follow in their footsteps in a church that more fully recognizes the power and contribution women have to bring. I come here tonight carrying this hope for what might be, alongside my own laments and prayers, and trusting that as we lift them up, we do believe in a God who hears and answers them. I lament I don't trust the church anymore. I lament that it no longer feels like a safe haven for me as it did when I was 12. I lament not having a faith community to lean on in good times and in bad times. I lament the church not standing up for my family, in particular the women, when they needed it the most. I lament that I'm the only one in my family that hasn't left the church. I lament that now, when I feel the need to defend the church, I have very little ground to stand on. I lament my grandmother's unwavering dedication to this church because I don't know if it was worth it. I lament that I'm angry at the church for all the times it has failed me and all the women in it. My prayer for the church is that it begins to realize that control is in faith, that Jesus had no power over people and still led thousands into a new faith. I pray that the church cares more about its people than maintaining and expanding their four walls. I pray that it can bring out its many layers of social justice, history, and teachings to discern the path for women to become deacons. I pray that it can recognize that many women are already doing the work of deacons and have been standing by the church. I pray the church realizes it has not stood with more than half of its church for far too long. Thank you.
Open my ears, Lord. Help me to hear